The judges looked at the boy and rolled their eyes. He was small. His shoes were old. His hands were shaking. And instead of a real fencing sword, he held a piece of wood, smooth, but clearly handmade. One judge whispered, another dreamer, "Let's finish this quickly." But no one knew the truth. No one knew how far this boy had come. His name was Ian. And this moment, this very moment, was the start of something no one would ever forget. Ian lived in a small village far from the city. He didn't have much. No big house, no expensive clothes, no internet, no sports clubs. But he had one thing, a dream. Ever since he was a child, Ian wanted to become a fencing champion. He saw the sport once on an old TV in a shop window. Men in white suits, moving fast like lightning, their swords clashing like thunder. He stood there for hours watching. That night, he went home and picked up a long stick. He began to copy the moves he had seen. His mother smiled and said, "Play carefully, beta." But Ian was not playing. He was training. Every day after school, he practiced. In the fields, under the trees, even in the rain. He watched old videos on his friend's phone whenever he could. He slowed them down, frame by frame, learning every step, every strike, every block. The village people laughed. "Look at him," they said. "Who learns fencing with a wooden stick? Go play cricket like the other boys." But Ian didn't stop. He had something stronger than a sword. He had determination. One day, a local sports event came to a nearby town. There would be many competitions, running, boxing, and even fencing. It was open to all. No fees, just your name and courage. Ian ran to the notice board and signed up. The man at the desk looked at him and asked, "Do you have gear?" Ian nodded. "Yes, sir." But in truth, he had only his wooden sword and a school uniform. That night, Ian cleaned the stick. He sanded it down. He painted it silver with a broken pen refill. It still looked like wood, but to him, it was a real sword. His heart believed it. The day of the competition arrived. Ian walked into the hall, small among giants. Other kids wore white fencing jackets, helmets, gloves, shiny swords. They stretched and warmed up with their coaches. Ian stood in a corner, quiet, alone. When it was his turn, the judges almost laughed. "Is this a joke?" one asked. Another waved his hand. "Let him try. He'll be out in seconds." The crowd whispered and smiled. Some even pointed, but Ian didn't hear them. He was looking at his opponent, a tall city boy with a real sword and real training. The referee said, "Ready, begin." Ian took a deep breath. Then like wind, he moved. Fast, light, unpredictable. The first move was so quick, the audience blinked. The city boy missed his block, and Ian's wooden blade touched his shoulder. "Point. Ian." Silence. The judges sat up straight. The crowd stopped laughing. The second round began. This time, the city boy came faster, but Ian was ready. He stepped to the side, twisted and struck again. "Point. Ian." Now the audience was watching closely. No one smiled. No one whispered. All eyes were on the boy with the wooden sword. The third round began. The city boy was angry now. He attacked with full power. Ian fell back, almost slipped. But at the last second, he spun and blocked the sword with his stick. Crack. The wooden blade held strong. With one clean move, he touched the boy's chest. "Point. Ian." Match over. The referee raised Ian's hand. The crowd cheered. Some stood up. Others clapped loudly. The same people who had laughed now had wide eyes and open mouths. The judges looked at each other. No more eye-rolling. Only shock. Who was this boy? Where did he come from? How did he learn such moves? Ian stepped off the mat, sweating, breathing hard, but smiling. He looked at the wooden sword in his hand. His father had carved it before he passed away. It was all he had left of him. He whispered, "This is just the beginning." And it truly was. The crowd still remembered the boy with the wooden sword. But behind his strong moves and fast strikes, there was a story no one knew. A past hidden in pain, loss, and a promise. Ayan wasn't always alone. There was a time, many years ago, when someone stood behind him during every training move. Someone who corrected his feet, guided his hand, and wiped the sweat from his face. That someone was his father. Ayan's father was once a fencing coach in a small city school. Not famous, not rich, but full of passion. He loved fencing, and he loved teaching. But more than anything, he loved his son. Even when Ayan was just 6 years old, his father gave him a tiny fencing sword made of wood and string. "You will be better than me one day," he said, laughing. Ayan laughed too. He didn't know what that meant, but it made him happy. Every evening, after work, his father trained him in their small backyard. Left foot forward. Balance. Eyes on the target. Now strike. Ayan learned fast. His father said he had something special, a sense of movement, like a dancer, quick thinking, strong focus. They practiced in the sun, in the rain, even by candlelight during power cuts. For Ayan, fencing became more than a game. It became love. But life is not always kind. One day, Ayan's father came home tired, very tired. His eyes were dull. His voice was weak. At first, they thought it was just stress. But soon the truth came out. He was sick, very sick. Ayan didn't understand at first. But when the training stopped and the medicine started, he knew something was wrong. The day his father was taken to the hospital, Ayan ran beside the stretcher, holding his hand. "Baba, you'll be okay, right? We'll train tomorrow?" His father looked at him, eyes full of tears and love. And he said something that stayed in Ayan's heart forever. "If I'm not here tomorrow, promise me you'll keep fencing. One day, people will know your name. You will do what I could not." Ayan nodded. "I promise, Baba, I swear." That night, his father passed away. After the funeral, everything changed. The house became quiet. His mother tried to stay strong, but sadness lived in every corner. Money became tight. Ayan stopped training. He stopped smiling. For 2 years, his wooden sword stayed in a box under his bed. But one evening, as he cleaned the house, he found a dusty old video camera. Inside, there were recordings, his father's lessons, all of them. Ayan sat down and watched. There he was, tiny and full of energy, swinging a sword too big for him. And there was his father, smiling, correcting, laughing. Tears rolled down Ayan's cheeks, but something inside him woke up again. He got up, went outside, picked up the wooden sword, and began again. But it wasn't easy. There was no coach now, no partner, no money for real gear. He trained alone, morning and evening, watching the old videos, watching his father. He studied online fencing matches on borrowed phones. Sometimes he skipped lunch just to save mobile data. Every night, he whispered the same words before sleeping. "I promised, Baba, I won't stop." Years passed. The boy who once cried by his father's bed had become a fighter. That's how he reached the local competition. That's how he shocked everyone. But the world still didn't know the full story. All they saw was a boy with a wooden sword. They didn't know it was a father's dream in his hands. The match was over, but Ayan's battle had just begun. He walked out of the arena, holding his wooden sword close. The cheers still echoed in his ears. People were whispering, pointing, smiling. For the first time, they weren't laughing at him. But as he reached the gate, someone stepped in his path. Tall, confident, wearing an expensive fencing uniform. A silver medal hung around his neck. His name was Zara, one of the top students from a big city academy. He looked at Ayan from head to toe and smiled, not a friendly smile, but one full of pride and challenge. "You got lucky in there," Zara said, crossing his arms. "But luck won't help you outside the ring." Ayan stood still. "What do you want?" "I want a real match. One-on-one. No cameras. No crowd. Just you and me," Zara said. A few boys behind him laughed. "Let's teach the village kid how real fencing feels." Ayan could have walked away. He was tired. He had nothing to prove. But something in Zara's voice reminded him of the people who had always laughed at his dream. He looked at Zara in the eyes and said, "Fine. Tomorrow morning. Behind the stadium." Zara smirked. Bring your stick. I'll bring a real sword. That night, Ayan didn't sleep much. He sat on the rooftop, looking at the stars, holding the wooden sword his father made. He remembered the promise. He remembered the pain. And he remembered the fire that kept him going. This is not just a fight, he said quietly. It's a step forward. The next morning, the sky was still dark when Ayan reached the back of the stadium. The ground was wet with dew. A few boys from the academy were already there, including Zara, stretching and laughing. Zara stepped forward, wearing full fencing gear. Ready to go back to your village after this? He said. Ayan didn't reply. He held his sword tight. His uniform was just a school shirt, but his heart was ready. They took position. No referee, no timer, just silence. Then, Zara attacked first. He was fast, strong, well-trained. Ayan blocked, dodged, and stepped back. Again, Zara came forward with power, trying to break Ayan's rhythm. But Ayan was calm. He remembered his father's voice. Don't fight with anger. Fight with your mind. Ayan waited, and then he saw it. A small mistake in Zara's movement, just 1 second too early. Ayan twisted, slid to the side, and tapped his wooden sword on Zara's chest. Point. Ayan. Zara blinked. His friends were silent. You got lucky, Zara muttered. Then let's go again, Ayan said. They did. Second round. Same result. Third round. Ayan dodged 3 strikes and tapped Zara on the shoulder. 3-0. Zara's pride turned into anger. He threw his helmet to the ground. You think you're better than me. You don't even have real gear. Ayan breathed deeply. I don't need gear to fight. I just need purpose. He turned and walked away, leaving behind more than just victory. He left behind fear, not his own, but in the hearts of those who doubted him. That evening, as he sat outside the stadium gate, someone approached him. It was an old man in a black coat. He had a soft voice and sharp eyes. I saw what you did, he said. You fight like someone who's lost something and found something greater. Ayan looked up confused. Who are you? The man smiled. My name is Coach Rehan, and I want to train you. The man's name was Coach Rehan. His face was calm, but his eyes held a storm. Sharp, watchful, like someone who had seen many battles, some on the field and some off it. I want to train you, he had said. Ayan stared at him. Why? Coach Rehan smiled gently. Because you remind me of someone I used to be, before everything fell apart. They met that evening in a small broken gym outside the city. The walls were cracked. The floor was dusty. No lights, no fancy equipment. Just an old wooden bench and a mirror half covered in newspaper. This is my training place now, Coach Rehan said. Not much, but enough. Ayan looked around. He didn't care about the walls or the smell. He saw something else, a chance, a door opening, a road forward. But why me? Ayan asked again. You don't even know me. Rehan sat down slowly and looked at the wooden sword in Ayan's hands. I know exactly who you are, he said. I knew your father. Ayan froze. My father? Rehan nodded. We trained together. Years ago, he was one of the best. Humble, fast, clever. He could have made it to the national level, but he gave it up for his family. For you. Ayan's eyes filled with tears. You knew him? I did, Rehan said softly. And now, I want to help you finish what he started. But there was something more in Rehan's voice. Something heavy, like a shadow he didn't want to speak about. Ayan noticed it, but didn't ask. Not yet. Training began the next day. It was harder than anything Ayan had done before. Rehan didn't go easy. He broke every move down. Footwork, timing, balance. Not just speed, but control. Not just strength, but focus. Every time Ayan made a mistake, Rehan would say, again, 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 again. Sometimes Ayan felt like collapsing, but he didn't quit, because every drop of sweat, every muscle that burned, was proof that he was moving forward. Days turned into weeks. Ayan's wooden sword moved like a part of his body. His feet were faster, his eyes sharper, his mind quieter. But outside the gym, the world was not quiet. Rumors were spreading. People were talking. How is that village boy still winning? He doesn't have a coach. He doesn't have a club. He's cheating. Some even tried to find ways to stop him. One evening, as Ayan was leaving the gym, he saw two men in suits talking to Coach Rehan. Their voices were low but serious. "Stop training him," one said. "You don't want the past to return. Remember what happened last time." Ayan couldn't hear it all, but he felt the tension. When he walked in, the men left quickly. "Who were they?" Ayan asked. Coach Rehan looked down. "Just people who don't like change." That night, Ayan couldn't sleep. He sat on the gym floor waiting. Rehan came in after some time, holding 2 cups of tea. "You want to know the truth?" Rehan asked. Ayan nodded. "I was once the national team coach," Rehan said. "We trained hard. We won matches. We had dreams. But I made a mistake." He paused. His hands trembled. "I spoke against the federation. I called out unfair decisions. Fake selections. They didn't like that. They banned me. Said I broke rules. My name was wiped from the records." Ayan was silent. Rehan looked him in the eyes. "That's why I train you in secret. Because the system is not ready for someone like you." Ayan stood up slowly. "Then let's not give them a choice." Rehan smiled, the pain in his eyes now mixed with pride. "You have a big match coming," he said. "District championship. If you win there, you qualify for nationals." "But they'll try to stop me," Ayan said. Rehan nodded. "Let them try. We'll answer with action." The wind felt different that morning. It was the day of the district championship, the biggest match of Ayan's life so far. 100 fences, 1 winner, and 1 ticket to the national level. Ayan stood in front of the stadium gates, holding his wooden sword wrapped in cloth. His bag had only a water bottle, a piece of bread, and his father's picture. No one knew what this day meant to him, but someone was watching. Inside the stadium, banners hung from the roof. Cameras flashed. Reporters stood ready. Families filled the seats. Most players came with coaches, parents, and team members. Ayan came alone. Almost. Coach Rehan was there, standing quietly in a dark corner, not wearing a badge. He wasn't allowed to enter as an official coach, but that didn't stop him from showing up. Their eyes met. Ayan gave a small nod. Rehan gave one back. The fight had begun. His first match was easy. Quick footwork, smart blocks, and sharp strikes. His opponent didn't stand a chance. People began to notice. That's the kid with the wooden sword. No coach, no gear, and still winning. Who is he? Second match, third match, quarterfinals. Each fight was harder. The players were faster, smarter. But Ayan was different now. He moved like water, calm but powerful. Every time he stepped onto the mat, he remembered his father's voice. "Don't fear the opponent. Fear giving up." And he didn't. But in the crowd, a man sat with cold eyes. His name was Mr. Wasif, the head of the Regional Fencing Federation. He wore a dark suit, held a gold pen, and watched Ayan closely. Next to him stood Zara, the boy Ayan had defeated behind the stadium weeks ago. "He's a problem," Zara whispered. Mr. Wasif narrowed his eyes. "He's an outsider, and outsiders don't get far in my system." Semi-finals. Ayan's opponent was strong, a state-level player from a private academy. Tall, fast, sharp blade. The match was close, 1 point each. Final round. Ayan's arms were tired. His legs shook. Sweat dripped from his chin. But he didn't stop. He remembered the promise. He remembered Rehan's voice. "You're not just fighting for yourself. You're fighting for every forgotten fighter." He blocked, spun, moved forward. Tap. Point. Ayan. Match over. He fell to his knees, breathing hard. He was in the final. But behind the scenes, something was being planned. Inside a closed room, Mr. Wasif spoke on the phone. "Yes, delay his name. Yes. Check his documents again. No, we can't let him win. Not him. Someone wanted Ayan to fall, no matter what. That evening, Coach Rehan sat with Ayan under a tree outside the stadium. You fought like a lion today, Rehan said. Ayan smiled. Final tomorrow. Rehan's face turned serious. They will try to break you, not just with words, but with tricks. I'm ready, Ayan said. But Rehan looked away, deep in thought. Just remember, sometimes the fight outside the ring is harder than the one inside it. The sun had not yet risen, but Ayan was already awake. Today was the final match. One last fight. One last step toward the nationals. He stood in front of the mirror in the small rented room, brushing his shirt and wrapping his wooden sword in cloth like always. His heart was steady, but his mind was full of memories. His father, Coach Rehan, every fall, every victory. He was ready, but the world wasn't. As he entered the stadium gates, a man in a black coat stalked him. Office. Now, he said. Ayan looked confused. Why? No questions. Just follow. Inside the office, two officials sat with serious faces. Mr. Wasif was there too, leaning back in his chair with a fake smile. Ayan stood silently. An official cleared his throat. We found irregularities, he said. Your documents have missing details. No registered club, no coach, no equipment approval. Mr. Wasif added, and your birth certificate? It looks unofficial. Ayan's heart dropped. What are you saying? We're saying you may not be eligible to compete today, the official said coldly. Ayan couldn't believe it. After everything, after all the hard work, they wanted to stop him over paperwork. He tried to speak, tried to explain. I don't have a club. I trained alone. My coach isn't registered, but I qualified. I won every match, fairly. Mr. Wasif leaned forward, fake kindness in his voice. You're a good fighter, Ayan. Maybe come back next year, join a real club, get real training. Ayan clenched his fists. You're scared I'll win. The room went silent. Just then, the door opened. Coach Rehan walked in. How dare you enter? Mr. Wasif began, but Rehan raised his hand. I have proof, he said. Official letters, his father's training record, my own coaching certificates, all legal, all valid. He dropped a file on the table. Check them now. You want to play by rules? Fine. Let's play fair. The officials opened the file, scanning the pages. Minutes passed in silence. Finally, one of them nodded. He's clear. Let him play. Mr. Wasif's face turned red with anger, but he couldn't stop it now. Ayan was back in the game. Outside, the crowd was already gathering for the final. Banners waved. Cameras turned. The announcer's voice echoed through the stadium. Final match. Ayan Khan versus Samir Malik. Samir, tall, trained, a 3-time champion. Fast like lightning and dangerous. As Ayan stepped onto the mat, the crowd murmured. There he is. That's the boy with the wooden sword. He's still here. Coach Rehan stood in the back row, arms crossed, eyes firm. Now show them what they tried to bury, he whispered. The referee raised his hand. Final match. Begin. Samir attacked first, sharp and quick. Ayan blocked. Again, Samir came forward, strike after strike. Ayan dodged, spun, countered. First point, Samir. The crowd roared. Second round. Samir attacked again. But Ayan had learned. He waited, stepped sideways, and tapped. Point, Ayan. 1 by 1, the score climbed. 4-4. Final point. The stadium was silent. Ayan looked at Samir. He didn't see an opponent. He saw every door that was shut in his face. Every laugh, every doubt, every shadow of his father beside him. He closed his eyes, breathed once, and moved. Tap. Point. Ayan. Match over. Ayan stood still as the crowd burst into cheers. But he didn't raise his hands. He looked up at the sky. I did it, Baba. The medal hung around Ayan's neck, cold, heavy, real. The crowd stood and clapped. Some cheered, some wiped tears. Others watched in silence, unable to believe what they had just seen. The boy with no gear, no coach, no club, had just become the district champion. Backstage, Ian sat alone, still catching his breath. His hands trembled, not with fear, but with the weight of what he had done. Coach Rehan entered, his eyes moist. "You didn't just win the match," he said softly. "You broke a wall." Ian smiled. "We broke it together." But just then, a phone rang. A staff member handed the phone to Rehan. "It's the national board," he whispered. Rehan answered. "Yes, he's here." "Understood. Thank you." He looked at Ian. "You've been selected. National trials. 1 month from now." Ian's heart stopped for a second. The dream was now real. But Rehan's smile faded. "There's more. Not everyone is happy." Later that night, Ian and Rehan sat quietly under the old tree near the stadium. "They'll try again," Rehan said. "At the national level, it's worse. Politics, pressure, people with power." Ian looked up at the stars. "Let them come. I'm not afraid now." Rehan placed a hand on his shoulder. "But you must prepare, Ian. This time, you won't just fight fences, you'll fight a system." The next day, headlines spread across the country. "Unknown boy with wooden sword wins district championship. Son of a forgotten fencer rises again." Some praised him. Some doubted him. Some searched his past. And one man, in a big office, frowned at Ian's picture. "We can't let this boy embarrass us on the national stage." Weeks passed. Training got harder. Days longer, nights shorter. But Ian didn't stop. He ran. He fought. He studied takes. He practiced until his body begged him to rest. But his soul pushed forward. Coach Rehan trained him like never before. "You are not just going to fight," Rehan said. "You're going to show the world that talent doesn't need permission." The day of the national trials arrived. Big stadium. Bigger players. Everyone came in branded uniforms, shiny bags, and with big-name coaches. And there was Ian. Same wooden sword, same quiet eyes. People laughed. Again. "He's back. Is this a joke? He won't survive round 1. But Ian didn't reply. He just looked at the mat. One more door. The last one. Match after match, Ian rose. Fast. Precise. Fearless. He beat city champions, academy stars, players with years of training. People stopped laughing. They started watching. Started whispering. Started hoping. Final match. Last round. Same situation. 1 point left. His opponent rushed forward, strong, loud, overconfident. Ian waited. Calm. Clear. Tap. Match over. Ian Khan winner. This time, when the medal was placed on his neck, he raised both hands to the sky. The stadium shook with applause. Coach Rehan stood in the back, a single tear rolling down his cheek. Mr. Wasif, watching from the crowd, had no words. The boy they tried to stop had become the best in the country. That night, a reporter asked Ian, "What would you say to kids who come from nothing?" Ian smiled gently. "You don't need to come from power. You don't need permission to dream. You just need pain, patience, and purpose. Doors won't open for you. Break them." The medal hung around Ian's neck, cold, heavy, real. The crowd stood and clapped. Some cheered. Some wiped tears. Others watched in silence, unable to believe what they had just seen. The boy with no gear, no coach, no club, had just become the district champion. Backstage, Ian sat alone, still catching his breath. His hands trembled, not with fear, but with the weight of what he had done. Coach Rehan entered, his eyes moist. "You didn't just win the match," he said softly. "You broke a wall." Ian smiled. "We broke it together." But just then, a phone rang. A staff member handed the phone to Rehan. "It's the national board," he whispered. Rehan answered. "Yes, he's here." "Understood. Thank you." He looked at Ayan. You've been selected. National trials. 1 month from now. Ayan's heart stopped for a second. The dream was now real. But Rihan's smile faded. There's more. Not everyone is happy. Later that night, Ayan and Rihan sat quietly under the old tree near the stadium. They'll try again, Rihan said. At the national level it's worse. Politics, pressure, people with power. Ayan looked up at the stars. Let them come. I'm not afraid now. Rihan placed a hand on his shoulder. But you must prepare, Ayan. This time, you won't just fight fences, you'll fight a system. The next day, headlines spread across the country. Unknown boy with wooden sword wins district championship. Son of a forgotten fencer rises again. Some praised him. Some doubted him. Some searched his past. And one man in a big office frowned at Ayan's picture. We can't let this boy embarrass us on the national stage. Weeks passed. Training got harder. Days longer. Nights shorter. But Ayan didn't stop. He ran. He fought. He studied tapes. He practiced until his body begged him to rest. But his soul pushed forward. Coach Rihan trained him like never before. You are not just going to fight, Rihan said. You are going to show the world that talent doesn't need permission. The day of the national trials arrived. Big stadium. Bigger players. Everyone came in branded uniforms, shiny bags, and with big-name coaches. And there was Ayan. Same wooden sword. Same quiet eyes. People laughed. Again. He's back. Is this a joke? He won't survive round 1. But Ayan didn't reply. He just looked at the mat. One more door. The last one. Match after match, Ayan rose. Fast. Precise. Fearless. He beat city champions. Academy stars. Players with years of training. People stopped laughing. They started watching. Started whispering. Started hoping. Final match. Last round. Same situation. 1 point left. His opponent rushed forward. Strong, loud, overconfident. Ayan waited. Calm. Clear. Tap. Match over. Ayan Khan, winner. This time, when the medal was placed on his neck, he raised both hands to the sky. The stadium shook with applause. Coach Rihan stood in the back, a single tear rolling down his cheek. Mr. Wasif, watching from the crowd, had no words. The boy they tried to stop had become the best in the country. That night, a reporter asked Ayan, "What would you say to kids who come from nothing?" Ayan smiled gently. You don't need to come from power. You don't need permission to dream. You just need pain, patience, and purpose. Doors won't open for you. Break them.